So first thing we're gonna do is take a listen to this record. So one of the first things we're gonna do, we're gonna deal with it very simply. We're gonna try to use gates. We're gonna try to not replace anything. We're gonna try to start with using the gate. So we'll start with the snare, for instance. But we're gonna dig over here. And let's turn this on. And I like to use Slate drum gate. All right, and that cleans it up. That cleaned up some of the bleed for us. We're gonna do the same thing over here for the snare bottom as well. We'll add in that drum gate, Slate drum gate, and we'll just use the same preset just to keep things good. And the way this works is it's a threshold. Anything below that level right there is getting cut off. You can play with your release a little bit. So that feels good. Let's keep it moving. Now I want to kind of go straight to the next problem, which is this this floor tom, to see if we can do anything with this to make this feel better. I kind of got it on default, but let's go to tom bleed. I always do natural, see. It's mainly the cymbals that mess it up, and the feels that mess it up. So we'll go straight to a part that's really active, which is this. Listening, I'm counting the tom hits that I'm hearing. So that pretty much cleaned it up. Now that's the trial and error, the tedious part of it, but let's see if it translates in the actual mix itself. Right? So you hear it, but of course you're losing the body of the tom. So we're going to try to mitigate this and make the snare and all of that stuff feel good, utilizing samples from Yash Warehouse, Trigger 2, all of that stuff like that, to make this drum thing come to light. It's not that we're trying to replace the drums totally. We're really trying to layer them to help them fit in the context of the mix. All right. We're going to pull something from the Warehouse. I've got a snare in here. It is the Brett snare. That's also in our legacy pack. Let me see how that sounds though. Let's pull it in just with that. That's with it. All right, so we're gonna drag in another snare here. We're gonna put it here on trigger snare 2. And these are a couple of other, we call them the popcorn snares. Let's get into a space where it's really moving here. I'm really looking now to add some weight to the snare so it really cuts through the mix. I like our wallet snares. So I'm digging that. I'm digging that vibe. The way we have our samples set up, you can actually drop down and choose whether you want the room, the dry sound, or the room only. I like to blend the room and the sample itself in to get that. And then we just kind of threw in the Nashville Wallet snare for that nice tight dampened snare, and it makes the snare feel tight. Now let's move on and let's deal with these toms here and see what we can do to make this feel a whole lot more natural. So here's a pro tip when it comes to recording drums. As the engineer, as the producer, or even as the drummer itself, you want to make sure that you get isolated hits of each one of your drums. All right. As you're recording, as you're doing that, after you finish, go all the way to the end of the section, and just hit each particular drum by itself. Hit it at multiple velocities if possible, but you want to get samples, isolated samples of your toms, isolated samples of your snare, isolated samples of your kick. Then when we're mixing, it makes it 100% easy for us to be able to take what you've already recorded, your tones, the tones from the session, and replace them in situations where you have bleed, extreme bleed, like I have in this particular record that I'm working on. So it allows us an easy way to basically replace drums. Now, this particular record, they didn't do that. So I'm going to have to use something from my sample arsenal and hopefully make it work. Let's dig in deep here. We're going to go here and let's see, let's find something. We're going to go into volume 2 toms. So I got to find something that matches closer to what's already on the record. We can tune it, but. And then I definitely need to turn off my gate. That would help. Let's try this one. So the context is trying to make sure that you make it fit inside the context of the mix. It may sound funny, a funky solo, but can you tell when it's in the context of the mix? And in some cases, you have to replace all the toms when it comes to situations like that in order to get the matching. And I might have to do that. I personally need to do a little bit more listening to make sure that's what I want to do. First, listen at glance without really scrutinizing it a whole lot. I think it sounds natural. Because I'm trying to get out of the mind of knowing it's a sample there and listen for pure listening. When you get out of that space, yeah. Again, the better way to do it would be to actually have a sample of that tom by itself. That's the only way that you're going to really get the full gamut of it. Otherwise, you're just shooting in the dark with it. You know what I mean? So that's all we can kind of do with that, and just kind of work with it. But let's dig in a little bit deeper. Now, I've already got my reverb locked the way I like it. And it's just basically a plate that's sending a little bit from each one of that. And then I got it going to a parallel compressor. Now that I got it to a place where I like it listening, I added in my FN to just a little air on the top, little 2 dB. That's all it is really here, just top end EQ, and then a little bit of a parallel compression type situation added in there. And then that's all I've really added in. And this is where we're at now on the mix. and things are starting to cut through for me. All right, so feels good. I think I'm about done with these. I mean, the kick sounds really good. I really didn't have to do anything to the kick, so we really don't need anything on this channel. Just a little bit of VMR. That's just a little bit of saturation put on there. On the drum bus itself, I also have this. I like to put this on here. It's a nice little spreader. T-Rex quad imager, and any imager will work for that matter. And it's not even really doing a whole lot. It's just to widen the set out a little bit. And let me show you what I'm talking about. It just spreads it out just a little bit, gives it a more wider perspective. So if I bypass it, but if I bring it back in just a little hair. So feeling good. I think I'm about done with these drums. I don't think there's anything else I need to do right now to the drums. Now we may come back once I start messing with all of the other elements and get myself something a little bit different. But for the most part, I'm kind of satisfied with where we are with the drums. I'll sit down, spend some more time listening to it, and make my decisions on there. But that's pretty much the lay of the land when it comes to mixing drums. This is pretty much the process. It's not the perfect process. It's not the only way to do things. It's just the way that I do things. And hopefully you were able to pull some value out of this and bring it in and use it in your own productions, own mixes, own recordings, all of the above. But that's all I got for you guys today. I appreciate you guys hanging out. We'll talk to you guys on the next one. Peace.